I want pictures of Spider-Man!
Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. I am now back from MagicCon Atlanta, and I am a tired boy. It was a fantastic event. I got to meet many of you, give out lots of tokens and signatures, and I had a blast. I will probably talk about the event more in my magic... blah, 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 blah. Can you tell I'm tired? In my Eternal Glory podcast pre-show this week. Before I get started, let me just say, if you liked the token art that you got from me at MagicCon Atlanta with my wizard and cat, the artist Gold Sabertooth is currently doing a Kickstarter with some really cool playmats as well as token packs. There's all sorts of stuff there, from Kinnan to Atali to a Reanimator and Urza focused one, and there's also going to be a chance to do some voting to determine what the remaining 4 playmats are going to be. So if you want some sweet tokens, check this out. I've got a link in the video description. Today's deck list comes to us from Bernard, who wanted us to play with Parker Luck. Now, in case you are not aware, the Spider-Man cards are not online with the Spider-Man card names. They all have been given alternate art and alternate names online. If you have thoughts about that, feel free to throw them down in the comments below. I legitimately would love to read them. And I think we'll leave it at that. This is a relatively neat card. At the beginning of your end step, 2 target players, in this case you and your opponent, each reveal the top card of their library. They each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player, and then put those cards into hand. Well, we would like to reveal something that does 15 damage, or 8 damage, or 10 damage, and this is potentially a standalone win condition. And even though it doesn't get value when it enters play immediately, a lot of times your opponent can't answer an enchantment at instant speed, so that probably means that you get at least 1 trigger from it, so it is very, very likely to replace itself. So today, this is the Parker Luck Show. That is Parker Luck Show and Tell. Or I guess Duskmourn's claim Show and Tell. Bernard's original version was 3 colors. It was Esper for Enlightened Tutor, but I felt like the deck did not have enough creatures in it, and I think I might even be skimping a little bit still at 5. And the deck also did not have stock up, which I view as the primary reason why one might want to be playing a Show and Tell or Sneak and Show deck. This is just very, very good in the fair blue matchups in particular, where people are trying to like discard and counter spells. This is just going to be something that lets you pull ahead as these games go long. So the advantage of this deck is going to be that you have a bunch of must counter cards, and something is going to slip through eventually. Scheming Symmetry is perhaps not going to be good enough for this deck, but it is really cute with Parker Luck. Parker Luck. I should just use this name. It's really good with Duskmourn's Claim, because if you cast Duskmourn's Claim and then use Scheming Symmetry, you are going to be able to go and tutor for your Emrakul and deal your opponent 15, and they can put something on top too, but what is that going to be? A Force of Will at 5 mana? You're just going to deal so much more damage than them. I have tweaked the mana base. I think it originally had something like 23 lands, and looking at the Show and Tell and Sneak and Show decks, a lot of times they are closer to 19. I'm going to do 20, kind of erring on the side of caution here with the mana, because we do have more 3-drop things that we want to cast than normal. Although you could fill out the deck with some 2-drops as well, some of the impulse style things that might get around Chalice of the Void, but still give you some amount of selection. I am going to keep 1 Tundra in the mana base. That way, when we reach the very late game, I have the possibility of casting an Atraxa off a blue-black source of some kind, a Tundra, and then we can get green from Lotus Petal. So Atraxa is theoretically castable, although I don't expect to do it in this league. The sideboard originally had 4 Leyline and 4 Surgical Extraction, which I thought was a little bit overkill, so I inserted some Null Rods into the deck for some generically powerful stuff versus artifact decks, a couple of Goyfs to give us yet another thing that our opponent has to respect, and the catch-all Brazen Borrower for when things get a little bit weird and we need to answer something. Alright, with that being said, let's hop into some matches here. I did a lot of business with TOAMagic.com this weekend. I sold them cards twice. I sold some of my own stuff. I sold a friend's collection. I bought some stuff from them. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order if you want to do some business with them. And I am very, very happy with working with them this weekend. It was incredibly pleasant, and I had a great time chatting with the folks there while I was selling cards. All right, let's battle. Island Ponder keep. What do you think? Mulligan? We'll keep it. Island Ponder Mulligan doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easily. Ooh, that is loud. Let's turn that a little down on my end. We have generic blue-black nonsense going on over there. I need to hit my next land drop. The fuck I do. Do I wait a turn? I think I wait a turn, and I think this is just a basic island, and I don't show Lotus Petal here. Those are certainly Magic the Gathering cards. I am, I think, interested. I immediately regret how I stacked this, but you can't undo Ponder. I should have put the blue one in hand instead. I should have put Stock Up in here. That way I don't have to pitch something good off of Force of Will. Okay, that's not just like Entomb. Well, shit. Oh, that's not where I thought this was going. This is going to resolve. We're going to be playing against some sort of Nick Fit variant here. So I'm now less concerned about counter spells. It could still be a thing. We're going. Things could get fucking weird here, folks. Let's find out. My opponent is going to have big dumb stuff to put in. That's big dumb stuff. God damn it. Sorcery, enchantment, sorcery, instant that doesn't work. Fuck me. That was not on the list of permanents that I was expecting. Okay. Well, shit. I don't think I'm going to just Scheming Symmetry for another Show and Tell immediately. I think I'm going to take a draw or two. I'm not in immediate danger of dying. I think I'll cast Scheming Symmetry on my next turn if nothing happens. This is a scary Magic the Gathering card because your opponent gets to then look for a card as well. So I don't really want to cast this until I'm doing something broken with it, like killing my opponent by hitting them for 15. All right, so they're going to do a Drain and a Mill 3, and they miss on the land. That means I am potentially dead next turn. If they had a land drop already, I think their line was wrong, and you should use Witherbloom Command to take out the Lotus Petal and Drain. This is now incredibly awkward, as if I tap this Ancient Tomb, I die to this stuff. I can't really play this anymore. I will just die to my opponent doing it. So this is not live. I think I just need to find another Show and Tell with Stock Up immediately. Well, there are counter spells. I think I am now dead. None of that is gonna do it. I will concede. We got by a river snake. So, we are playing a matchup where the Show and Tells are scary to cast. Does that mean Thoughtseize? That conceptually makes sense to me. Goyfs are okay too. I think I might do Goyfs on the draw, but not on the play. I mean, this is Show and Tell Emrakul on turn 2. And I get to Thoughtseize on turn 1. There's plenty to like here. We get river snaked. So this has to be an Underground Sea. All Thoughtseize. Holy shit. Demigod of Revenge. Okay. My opponent does not have untapped blue. So all of my opponent's blue cards aren't immediately castable. They're just taking their Veteran Explorer. It's their only castable card. Yeah. Cool. I'm not sure if I would have kept that hand in their position. Lol. Oh, nice. So they drew the basic island, so I know every card in their hand, so I just win. So there's Show and Tell. There's Omniscience. My opponent can either put in a land or a demigod. You may surveil. I will cast for free. And we win the game. If my opponent didn't concede, I attack for 15 on my next turn, and then I cast a new Emrakul. So that was deterministic. So do I want the Goyfs? Do I want the Flusters? Are the current things that I'm thinking about. Kind of want to split these. Just make it so that my opponent has a bunch of things that they have to be thinking about. Oh, we're so close. But this is not going to do it. Opponent mulligans to 6 as well. This is missing a Show and Tell, but is otherwise pretty solid. I think I'm going to keep this and just get rid of Omni. I think I'll get rid of Omni. And I would prefer not to Force of Will. Yeah, that's fine. That's much better for me than my opponent starting out with Tamiyo. I've drawn the Singleton Tundra, which is a little awkward here because it means that I have to use my fetch land to get black. That fucking Regent. My opponent did not shuffle with Ponder, but they absolutely don't have a good land situation going on. I think I'm going to take the Force of Will. Because I have... this is annoying. I have other win conditions that kind of get around this. It's pretty easy for me to just die to this card if I don't counter it. But if I counter it, then I don't have any selection. I am going to counter it and just be unhappy about it. I'm going to keep the Atraxa in hand. That way I've got something cool to do if I do end up finding the Show and Tell. This is where we want to draw like the stock up type cards. I'm looking to draw my 3-drops at this point. And next turn I can cantrip into a 3-drop. But the second creature here is not great. My opponent is just holding up mana. That's fine. Any turn where we just play draw go and I'm not actively taking damage is fine. It's when things like Brazen Borrower and Orcish Bowmaster start getting involved that things get a little bit more annoying for me. And I am just trying to keep the board clear. Damn it. Yeah, I am trying to 1-for-1 my opponent so that my stock ups eventually bury my opponent, but this is going to make that not true, especially with that brainstorm there. But luckily, I am a believer. So let's fucking believe. Duskmourn's claim, baby. We're in business. Now, I do have to manually choose the targets here. Alright, so I revealed Demigod. Sorry, my opponent revealed Demigod. I revealed Scalding Tarn. That ain't great. I'm going to die to my own Duskmourn's claim because my opponent can brainstorm their Regent to the top of library. Randomly hitting a 5-drop there did not do me any favors. So now my opponent gets their clue and brainstorm to transform Tamiyo. And then Tamiyo can plus up to 4. Sure. That's not great. So, I don't know what is currently on top of my opponent's library. If I were them, I would put Demigod of Revenge on top and continue to hold this one in hand to play around Show and Tell. I'm going to act under the assumption that Demigod of Revenge is on top of library, in which case this does not kill me. If I am wrong, so be it, but I think I need to surveil before this happens. Are we fine with dealing 15 to my opponent? Yes, I'm going to say that that is fine. And we will see if the Regent instead is on top, and I just die immediately. So target and target. Alright, I am correct. It is the Demigod on top. My opponent is at 4. Hopefully I kill them next turn with this. There are timelines where instead a draw happens. My opponent gets to Cabal Therapy and get both of my Emrakuls, which is very, very funny. There we go. Oh, now I will shuffle those. And if my opponent's smart, they have the game deterministically won. They Tamiyo minus and select Brainstorm. Alright, they figured it out. There's the Brainstorm. So, the best I can now do is a draw, because my opponent's Demigod of Revenge will be on top of their library. So, Bowmasters is a thing. But I think I need to ignore Bowmasters. I'm so likely to lose this one already. There is a Force of Negation. You got it. So now this is just fully random. Do we move to another game? Triggers. Yeah. I reveal Show and Tell, putting my opponent to 1. Daggers. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. All right, opponent says hello, and they're a fan of the channel. We are going to open up on a very solid stock-up hand here, and we'll see where this goes. It's Duskmourn's Claim, that's what we're doing this game. I'll take one of those and put a large creature into my hand. I'm going to put an Atraxa into my hand, put an Emrakul back into the deck, and I think just pass there. Basic Island into ThrabenU. That is fine. Force of Will is, I would say, okay. There's Lotus Petal. I'm just going to do this in a way that does not cost me life. And here is Duskmourn's Claim. I can dome my opponent for 15 here. I think I don't know what card I want yet, because things could change just so very quickly. I'm going to get a card from this as well. Swords to Plowshares versus Ancient Tomb. Sure, that's fine. Because in some timelines, I pitch Atraxa to Force of Will. Opponent is not a fan of my Duskmourn's Claim. I would love to randomly deal some damage with that, and then make Scheming Symmetry lethal. Ponder is fine, that's the second card draw of the turn. And Urza's Saga. So we might be looking at a blue painter deck or something in that general ballpark. Yeah, here we go. So there's a stock up. Ooh, pitching Thassa's Oracle. I want to force back. I can just die sometimes. Not gonna force back. I think we're gonna just chill and let Duskmourn's Claim do its thing. Force of Will over there, Ponder over here. Not great. I have taken more damage this game from my Duskmourn's Claim than my opponent has. ThrabenU does the ThrabenU thing, and my opponent can just queue up very large Urza Saga tokens that may honestly just kill me. I am at 12 already because I took 5 from their Force of Will. So here we go. There's Polluted Delta on lands on both ends. I potentially die if my opponent has Lava Spur Boots here. The fact that this gives my opponent a card is feeling very rough. So these are now 4/4 tokens, about to be 5/5 tokens. There's the Shuko. So I'm taking 6 here. Well, 7, and I am then dead on board after that. And my opponent is not in range of just dying to an Emrakul instantly via Scheming Symmetry. So we're gonna float mana, play a land. I'm now dead to Force of Will being brainstormed to the top of library. We're gonna ponder for our lives here. There is Show and Tell, but I now don't have the blue mana to put it into play. 15 damage doesn't do it here, so the swamp isn't an out. I don't know what I'm looking for. It's not that. I guess since I'm dead on board, I should not show my opponent another card in my deck. Alright, so looks like we're playing against Cephalid Breakfast. We have to worry about a graveyard-based combo. We have to worry about being just aggroed down by construct tokens. We have to worry about counter spells. That's a lot of stuff. I don't think in my opponent's A+B combo deck, I can cast Scheming Symmetry and give them half of their combo. Null Rod covers ThrabenU clue tokens as well as Shuko. That seems reasonable. Thoughtseize seems reasonable. Let's maybe do some trimming and get a playset of Thoughtseize in there. I don't hate Leyline of the Void, but I think it's difficult for me to do the things my deck is trying to do while getting the ley lines in there. This is a mana source away from greatness. Going to very reluctantly keep this one. And my hope is that putting an Omniscience into play is good enough to result in me winning. Hate that, but I'm not going to fight over that immediately. The Show and Tell combo, oh, well, here we go. This is a little awkward because I might just put my opponent's combo into play for them. So there's my Show and Tell. There's an Omniscience. Yeah. There's another Omniscience. There's a Duskmourn's Claim. So we'll do this thing. That's Flooded Strand and Island. So now my opponent has their combo in play. And if they have protection for their combo, I'm dead. Otherwise, I can attempt to Force of Will and disrupt it. I'm just gonna go ahead and always yield to these for quality of life purposes. So there is a Dread Return in Graveyard. At a quick glance, I don't see Memory's Journey, which would be the thing that lets my opponent try again. There is Dread Return targeting Thassa's Oracle, and I will go ahead and Force of Will that. Okay. Good so far. Hey, not bad. Did I just not see the Memory's Journey? Yeah, apparently I just did not see the Memory's Journey. Okay. Well, my Duskmourn's Claim is going to give my opponent one of the two cards, and then they're going to draw the other one for turn. Yeah. So now they just get uncounterable Thassa's Oracle. GG's. Okay. Opening hand is fine. I think that's all that I'll give it. I think it's clunky, honestly. That second Ponder helps out a lot. I'm going to make this one the basic island. After that, every land other than the Tundra produces black. So if I find more mana, this will be fine. Oh shit. Yes. I can't have all of this right now. I think that means the Show and Tell goes furthest down. You could draw the Show and Tell immediately to have 2 layers of Force of Will up, but I'm kind of intending on doing Force pitching Force. Sure. I'm not going to counter that. Cavernous Old Nadu is something that could suck if it happens, though. So, Swamp into Lotus Petal. And I think I am just fully viewing this as bait. And if it resolves, cool. And if it doesn't, I'm more realistically planning on doing Show and Tell crimes. Okay, it did resolve. That means I deal 3 damage to my opponent this turn. They have revealed a Shuko. If they had another Surveil land, that was a good potential time to use it. That is a Savannah. Now I think my plan has potentially shifted. I'm going to Force of Will and pitch a Ponder. And if I luck sack into a land to cast a Show and Tell, I may be okay with that. Alright, we're fucking fighting here. Let's go. You know what? No, fuck the bird. We're going directly at the bird again. I'm not even going to counter your Force of Will. Just the Nadu directly. Get off that stack. Opponent is at 15. At 15 life after a Force of Will. I'm just throwing out that number 15 for no particular reason. Emrakul. We're going to go ahead and move to the end step. We're going to target both players here. Oh my gosh, the Cephalid Illusionist. That's so dangerous. Oh, we're done here. Opponent said at the beginning of the game, by the way, blue, with kind of a crazy face in chat. Not normal blue. All right, the Scheming Symmetry thing absolutely did the thing there. But I still think it's correct to get these Thought Seizes in there. I think my primary plan is Show and Tell Omniscience Emrakul for this matchup. Let's do this for Shuko and probably Tamiyo and call that good. I could do like one more Brazen Borrower in a spot where Duskmourn's Claim is, and I think that would be reasonable as well. This is pretty much all mana. This is 6 mana sources, and I don't think that's acceptable. Yup. I'm gonna get rid of the second Ancient Tomb here. We might get a match here. This is looking pretty good. There's a Ponder. Select away. I get to do scary things 3 turns in a row here. I get to Thoughtseize, take a piece of interaction, Show and Tell, probably take a piece of interaction with that, and then resolve the second Show and Tell for hopefully a win. That's kind of how I see this playing out. Woohoo, Force of Negation. I mean, we got that, so Show and Tell didn't take it. So that's the good news. The bad news here is that my opponent could play out one combo piece and then use Show and Tell to get the other one into play. No immediate fetch after the Brainstorm. Okay, well, the show and telling will continue until morale improves. I would really prefer to have an Omniscience here, but with no selection and the expectation that at least one of these show and tells is going to be countered. I think this is just what I've got to do. Opponent kept a card on top, which is horrifying. Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. Hopefully we're good next turn. Definitely scared, though. Nadu is in play. This represents a Shuko. Opponent has one card. I'm probably good. There's Show and Tell. There's Emrakul. That's Cephalid Illusionist. This is not enough permanents to survive an Emrakul, so this is just going to come down to what is my opponent's draw here. I have Annihilator 6. Even if my opponent makes an Urza Saga token, this still sweeps everything. All right, we 2-0'd a match. Proof of concept this round. Although, boy, Nadu is scary. GG's. Okay, this is pretty cool. Opponent says hello, they're a fan of the channel. This is Duskmourn's claim on turn 2 into back-to-back scheming symmetries for lethal. Let's see what my opponent's got going on. Just generic underground CBS for now, and we'll try to get a feel for more specifically what they are doing over the next couple of turns. I'm going to, I think, cast the Ponder. Casting the Ponder means that I am getting an Underground Sea, which means that my black source is wastelandable. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I think I'm just going to Ponder with the intention of trying to find another land to avoid that scenario. Days. Okay, cool. It's not the wasteland. All right, we are playing against Tempo, in which case this Duskmourn's claim could get a little weird, but we're all in, baby. This is very clearly the plan. Duskmourn's claim. Given the hand, I just have to Force of Will to protect this, I believe. If my opponent dazes or forces or whatever. Yeah, I will fight back there. Are we resolving? We're resolving. In an ideal world, I just hit something that deals 3 points of damage to my opponent here. Bitter Triumph incoming. There we go. I hit another land drop, but that's not the worst. I'm going to get hit for 3 here. Opponent will have a removal spell ready for a potential creature. That's a Lotus Petal. I guess I don't really need to cast that for any reason. So let's Scheming Symmetry. I wonder if I just get Show and Tell here. Show and Tell does 3 damage and potentially puts the fucking Emrakul into play, right? And then next turn, I put an Emrakul into play while also dealing 15 damage to my opponent. That sounds good. And then the Show and Tell next turn gets to be bait for the Force of Will that they're presumably putting on top of their library right now. I'm kind of worried, though, because if my opponent just puts 2 Show and Tells on top in a row. Oh, they just got Underground Sea. Sure. Wonder if they realized the damage that went with this. Oh, I'm in theory getting hit for 3? Okay, they weren't trying to get a Kaito into play. Maybe there's just like a Force of Negation involved here. So there's Lotus Petal. I think I'm going to start by using the Lotus Petal to save the life. Here's Show and Tell. There's an Emrakul. Opponent at 15. Brazen Borrower in play. Oh fuck, Murktide Regent is a thing now, isn't it? That deals 7. Shit. I don't think I can cast a second Scheming Symmetry. Rainstorm can just go to bottom. Because the top card of my library is clearly an Emrakul. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Cards, right? Alright, opponent is fetching in response this time. Surveilling. There's a Kaito on top, there's a Lorien revealed on top on my end. Oh, this is gonna do it. Because I fetched, I died. I realized it just a little bit too late. That loss is fully on me. But I didn't think about Murktide Regent until after I had fetched GG's. That loss is on me. I'm interested in some amount of the fair stuff here. I think the Duskmourn's claim is actively bad in a tempo matchup. The life loss from my opponent, especially with Scheming Symmetry, is rough. So I think I'm just gonna transform here and try to grind things out with the bad show and tell deck for this matchup. Yeah, I don't like my deck for this matchup. This is presumably fine. I can't fully ignore my black mana, but I can definitely neglect my black mana. Ooh, opponent going to 4. Let's go ahead and ponder. I'm not keen on multiple of those, so let's just take a fresh card there. This is great if I can get it into play. Okay, cool. We played around Wasteland already. Haha, nice. I think I'm just going to brainstorm before Orcish Bowmasters is a thing. I am into Goyf around Days with Lotus Petal next turn, I think meaning that City of Traders is not really great. Although I want to shuffle this stuff away. This is fine. Maybe the line is put Swamp back, actually. Yeah, I just did that too quickly. The line is put Swamp back over Surveil Land, I think. What if I just redraw? Yeah, I think since I messed up, I will just redraw. Bam. Bam. Fetch. I'm going to show them the Tundra that I don't actually care about. And there's a Goyf. Easiest force of will of my life. My opponent doesn't have any colored mana here, and has probably boarded out a decent number of Fatal Push looking cards. That is a second counter spell. Sure. I'll hit you in the face with a Brazen Borrower instead. You have 0 cards in hand. That is just objectively not necessary. You can wait until your own turn to Wasteland. Omniscience not doing a lot here. I'll just go ahead and pass the turn with intention of just hardcasting a 3/1 at my opponent's end step. Surveil Land is fine. Okay, opponent does still have Fatal Push. I think I'm fine leaving the Lotus Petal in play and just having an Underground Sea Wastelanded. Bowmasters is really annoying there. As this drawing another Omniscience. Such is life. I'll take 2 damage going to 14. Wasteland is fine. Opponent has another land drop. This is where I need to just start drawing the stock ups. Good with this? I think I'm good with this. It's gonna hurt. I'll put back Omniscience and Atraxa there. I'm at 11 when that stack clears. And I think I just need to work on finding land plus show and tell. That's not what I'm looking for. All right, there is the land. So now I just need to find show and tell. It's got to be the next draw. So it can be the top 2 cards of our library because we have a Surveil Land in the deck still. I'll Surveil in response. That's pretty rough because that's presumably naming show and tell. It does name show and tell. I think that means I'm dead because I can't do the whole Parker luck thing. Yep, I am dead to the Bowmaster there. GG. Okay, opening hand is fine. I think we can kind of assume that stock up will do something disgusting over the course of this game. Opponent has left their card on top. I think I'm just going to play stock up around Days next turn. I'll call this good here. A Bloodstained Mire. Could be Grixis Control, if the Bloodstained Mire is actually representing red. Grixis Control is pretty uncommon, though, so it might just be more likely that this is just a flex slot land in something like Reanimator. I'm going to assume that this is fine to just take. Here we go. And I think it is Ancient Tomb. Ancient Tomb is a little weird in the whole Parker luck deck, where, like, I am doing things that lower my life total. Okay, there's a show and tell. I am into that. Is it Brainstorm as the other? I think so. I've already made my land drop, so I'm good now. Are you entombing? Still my main phase. All right, we are in red. Card on top. Don't get any bonus information here. The basic island. Just Snapcaster Ponder. Sure, that's fine. And opponent ponders. This is probably Grixis Wizards. Flame of Honor is probably on the table. But I don't think I want to use my singular Force of Will to fight over a Snapcaster Mage. I am going to start here, get rid of one of these Brainstorms. Ooh, yeah. I'm going to get rid of land and put one of these back in the deck. Then I'm going to go ahead and fetch. I'll grab a new Underground Sea. I think I am good with Show and Tell immediately with a Force of Will back up here. Oh, it just worked. I think Atraxa is probably more devastating for my opponent and safer, despite the fact that Emrakul is a silly Magic the Gathering card. So I will get a Lotus Petal, I will get a Force of Will, I will get an enchantment, I will get a sorcery, I will get a land. Seems sick. That allows me to deploy another Lotus Petal. I'm discarding 2 cards here, but I think that's fine. I have 2 Force of Wills for any sort of edicts that my opponent can do. I'll discard a land. And I think Duskmourn's Claim is the worst card, and I've already shown it via Atraxa, so it's not like that's a surprise or anything. I just realized it's already round 5. This league is flying by. For good or bad, the matches are quick with this deck. That is a Petty Theft. We're going to say no to that. Force of Will, pitching a Brainstorm. That's a Force of Will. I'm going to Force of Will right back. Force of Will, pitching a Stock Up. And that's the concession point for my opponent. We have stuck in Atraxa, and they could not answer it. I would like these, and these, and maybe these. I think we're giving up the Scheming Symmetry Dream to get at least some of this stuff in there. How do I feel about Duskmourn's Claim? I don't hate it. Duskmourn's Claim is something that doesn't get eaten by a Pyroblast if my opponent is boarding in those. This makes me more threat dense, and then I can just play the Flusters and call that good. Or I could play the Thoughtseizes and I can make sure the coast is clear. I can also do something in the middle. Let's do the Flusters. I don't actually think Duskmourn's Claim is all that crazy. Giving the control deck extra cards is not really the best and kind of works against my stock up, grind them out plan, but it's a pretty good distraction. And enchantments are really sticky when you're paired against Grixis. I just have to potentially worry about, this is fine, my opponent revealing some more expensive things, Kaito, Force of Will, potentially Murktide Regent, that could put me into problematic situations later on. Force of Will is fine. Protecting the Goyf actively sounds good to me. Ponder is fine. My opponent had to make the land drop prior to doing that because Theater was their first land. I think Lorien Revealed is Force of Will fodder. And I'll get my Surveil land. Yup. Like, as much as I want something to do immediately, stock up is just very strong. 3rd land drop from the opponent, and they are doing something. I'm ready. That's not that annoying for me. I'm not really drawing cards right now, but that just represents 2 cards for my opponent over a couple of turns, so I think I'll just say no. I don't have another Surveil land. Delta can stay in play accordingly. I don't think I need to play around Daze, and I think I'll just grab yet another Underground Sea. I think I'll start here. That's good enough for another Force of Will, pitching a Kaito. So now we're just moving towards, I will find Show and Tell off of one of these stock ups and then take over the game. Nappy is fine. Ponder's not that big of a deal. And actually, I guess Flame of Honor is not all that scary, right? Because I don't care about the 5 damage, and I don't care about the destroy an artifact, really. I'm gonna go ahead and just do this like this without playing a land first. I'll take an Omniscience, and I have plenty of lands, so I guess I'll take a Lotus Petal. Because if I take the Lotus Petal, I can just stock up again right now before my opponent untaps. I'll take another stock up. I think the plan is Show and Tell with protection rather than Duskmourn's Claim, so I'm going to get Fluster. And I've actually seen a very good portion of my deck at this point. I don't remember exactly, but I think I know 6 cards at the bottom of my library aren't show and tells. There is a follow-up fetch land. I'll take some damage from a Snapcaster. This is fine. Fuck yeah. My opponent's got a decent amount of mana available right now. I can just cast another stock up. And I don't think I would fight to protect this, so I'm not going to leave Fluster mana up. I will take an Atraxa and a Lotus Petal here. I'm going to put this into play. I'm going to cast a Lotus Petal. And now my Storm count's pretty high. For Fluster purposes, I think we're going in. This will shuffle those lands back in. I'll take 2 more. I will cast the Show and Tell. Pyroblast, easily countered by a Flusterstorm. We'll see if they have more beyond that. Pyroblast is countered. Stack's not empty yet. Alright, they got something else. Do you have another one? They do. I'll pass the turn. The Snapcaster Mage kills me in 5 hits. There's timelines where I cast an Atraxa. I have 6 mana in play already. I would need a Tundra and a Lotus Petal, and I've used 2 of the Lotus Petals already. So it's possible, but unlikely. Please don't Orcish Bowmasters me. Alright, this is not the stuff that I'm looking for. This will get me that Tundra, but I am unfortunately passing the turn here. Notably, I'm at 8 life already. I believe that if I played a Duskmourn's Claim this game, there's a good chance that I would have just died to it. I'm at 6. There's a Tamiyo. Things are looking bad. Let's get Tundra. Sure. That is another land, unfortunately. I am dead on board here. GG, let's try this in another game. Do I want to turn Duskmourn's Claim into Thoughtseizes? Or do I want to keep them so that I am threat dense? If I don't have the Ancient Tomb, keeping them so that I'm threat dense is potentially reasonable. But Thoughtseize to help get through the pile of red elemental blasts is also fine. I think I'm going to keep them, if nothing else, for the sake of trying to get another sweet Emrakul screenshot. So the question I'm going to ask my opponent here is, do you have it? I'm jamming a Show and Tell on turn 1, and if it works, I have Show and Tell into Omniscience stock up. And if it doesn't work, oh no, I'll cast stock up on turn 2, and life will go on. But I think it is just totally fine to put them to the test before their red elemental blasts can be online. Lotus Petal. Ancient Tomb. Show and Tell. That is a force of negation. They had it. Stock up nonsense will begin on my turn. Ooh, that's a tough 1-2 punch. Well, we're doing this instead. This is the upside of being threat dense, I suppose. And we'll just see whether or not this is better for me or my opponent. 17 to 15. They reveal Kaito. I reveal Ancient Tomb. I got the short end of the stick. Got land drop and then a brainstorm. I wonder if this is a spot where you don't play that fetch land prior to the brainstorm because you want to not use the fetch land to put something expensive on top of your library. Yeah, so if my opponent had something expensive like the Kaito, or even better, you know, a Murktide region or whatever, they could have set it up so that they left it on top for the guaranteed decent amount of damage. Weird play patterns at work here that are not typical. Because normally that would be a totally fine thing to do because it lets you play your brainstorm around a daze and you are almost certainly going to want to shuffle anyway. But in the hypothetical world where my opponent has an expensive card and has something like a Thoughtseize or Tamiyo that they want to cast, it may be correct to just not do the fetch. There's a Force of Will, not really what I'm looking for right now. That is a Surgical Extraction on stock up. Kind of annoying, but I don't think I'm going to Force of Will that. I'm just going to go ahead and make my land drop here, and then we'll see what happens with Duskmourn's Claim. I take 5 off of it. Cool. My opponent has dealt me 9 damage off of my own card and drawn 2 cards. This is a very strong illustration of why you don't play cards that look like this. But hopefully we just, rip an Emrakul next turn and they die. And then I make air horn noises, and everyone goes home happy. I am at 6. I think I just gotta. Going to 5 is awkward because then Brainstorm for Lorien revealed kills me off Duskmourn's claim. Alright. Worst timeline is not happening. Ito is coming soon. Are we going to 3? I don't think we're going to 3. I'm going to save this for Brainstorm. Emrakul. Culligan's Command. I'm dead to that. I have given my opponent the card that directly kills me. And we get our butt kicked here. We did put up 1-2-0, but the rest of the time we were fighting an uphill battle. GG's. All right, Bernard, we're back to the drawing board. Overall thoughts on the deck list here. Scheming Symmetry is not really a playable Magic the Gathering card. Letting your opponent draw a card is bad. Letting your opponent tutor is worse. If this literally kills your opponent the same turn because you set up Duskmourn's Claim plus Emrakul, that's solid. But as a fair tool, like trying to tutor for something like a Show and Tell, you're going to tutor your opponent into a Thoughtseize or a Force of Will or a Flusterstorm or a Red Elemental Blast or whatever they need to address the problem. So I don't love it as a fair tool. This deck didn't have any removal, so if a Nethergoyf or a Delver or a Corey Steelcutter or whatever starts getting in on our life total early, we don't realistically have ways to gain life for the most part. Like, there's some Goyfs out of the sideboard, which were very good, and Atraxa is technically some life gain. But between Ancient Tombs and Thoughtseizes and Duskmourn's Claim and opposing creatures, this deck doesn't stay alive super well. I'm very glad I added the stock ups to the deck. Those were very good. If I was going to play this again, I think I would cut the 4 Scheming Symmetry and try to do something like play 4 Baleful Strix. Baleful Strix is not the best in the world of Orcish Bowmasters, but something like that might just play a needed role of something in the 2-drop slot that gets in the way of creatures. Or alternatively, you just do the stupid thing that everyone else is doing, and you just play 4 Tamiyo yourself, and that helps to deal with smaller creatures and put more pressure on your opponent. I think either one of those things would probably improve the deck, but more generally speaking, I don't know that I want to be playing with Parker Luck / Duskmourn's Claim. It is giving your opponent's cards while potentially being their win condition if they hit well, or they use their cantrips to set up the top of their library. Now, that being said, I could see this being very funny in Commander, where you have more than 2 players, so you don't have to choose yourself as one of them, and you just go, okay, 2 opponents, you're going to make each other lose life, but you are still drawing them cards in that case. So I think I'm going to give a thumbs down on Parker Luck / Duskmourn's Claim. I think I improved the deck that was originally submitted. I don't think I conceptually like Enlightened Tutor as a tutor for Duskmourn's Claim / Omniscience. I don't know that tutoring an Omniscience to the top of library for 8 cards is worth it, when it wasn't necessarily always even ideal to tutor to put 15 damage to the top of our library. Sideboard options were reasonable. I don't think I have too much to say there, so I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. This was a very fast league. Oh no, I'll have to just record more Magic. Alright, see ya.